All right, we're
All right.
live.
Good evening. I'll call the Community Preservation Committee meeting to order on 6 p.m. on April 20th. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. First item is we're missing one committee member tonight, Pam Toby, who is absent. The rest of us are present. Any questions from anybody on the committee before we launch into tonight's agenda? So, hearing none, we'll go to the agenda. Did everybody get the agenda from Jamie earlier today?
Yes.
Yep, we've got 5 items on it. First one is report on open committee seats. I will do this report. It's quite short. Pam reached out to, basically there's no change. A month ago, Pam had spoken with the last meeting of the Conservation Commission. Bob Guller, who's chair, said he'd be happy to do it, but the committee said we'd like to discuss it to make sure if anybody else has interest, that they would do that. Pam checked in last week. They had not discussed it yet, and so we still have no representative from the Conservation Commission. So we will put a little bit more reminders on them to see if we can get that done before our next meeting. I checked in with Nicole Kaiser. I know that there's been at least one person who expressed interest formally to the city, and that was a month ago. I think I mentioned it to her here. Nothing has been done. Nicole told me just earlier today when I checked in after asking her last week that they do have at least one candidate to talk to, and they're hoping to take care of that this week. I will remind her more frequently and see if we can push this along, because I'd really like to get those seats filled as soon as we can before we get into busy season.
Right.
So that's the report on item number 1, which it was more productive, but hopefully by this time next month it will be. Okay. Item 2. Jamie sent out a few documents in prep for the meeting. One of them was a list of the applicants for 2021 funding, of which there are 9. And I wanted to, Pam and I wanted to discuss with the committee, and I don't know if this is a new concept for us or not, but whether we would like to assign one of us to be the contact point from the CPC for the applicant as they go through the application process, and then any follow-up questions, presentations before decisions are made, that they have another contact among one of us in addition to Jamie to ask questions. So I wanted to open that topic for discussion and see how people feel about it, and then review and if we decide to go ahead and assign a contact point for these, a contact person for each project, then see if any of these interest any of us in particular. So comments, discussion?
I think it's a great idea, and I'd be willing to take on whatever would be asked of me. And I think it's, yeah, I think that it makes sense to not have just one person in charge of doing that, and for the applicants to know that there's somebody that that they can reach out to with no problem. I mean, I'm not sure since it's my first year. I don't have a great history, but I'm good at asking questions and finding out what I need to find out when necessary.
Yeah. I would be happy to do that. if that's what we decide to do, I also think it would be a good idea. Be interesting.
And by the way, if I think that if one or more of us aren't interested for reasons of time or anything else, that's fine too. I don't think we need to make it a requirement that somebody take a project contact, but I think it would be helpful. And Jamie, I wanted to ask you, in the project cycle from this point through May and then from May beyond to decision, what kind of communications typically are happening?
So I anticipate with a new system that a lot of the questions might be, how does the system work this time around? I do often get a lot of questions regarding what the temperature of the committee is on certain things. If there are items that should be included in the application that would make them more favorable. Letters of support, if there are particular organizations that applicants should be looking to get letters from, is a question I get pretty commonly. Those will be the big ones once the applications come in. And then after review, the biggest, like the bulk of the communication tends to be committee questions, kind of going back and forth. So questions that come up during meetings or, as each of the members are reviewing the applications independently, there'll be a lot of follow-up and directing, like, this wasn't quite clear enough in the application. So a lot of those questions will be the bulk of the communication that I think applicants would need support with between now and the awarding of a grant.
So it's not a lot of heavy lifting. This year it might be more for you just because of how does the system work type of questions. I don't think we're going to be able to answer that a whole lot better than if you would. Probably not worse, actually.
So I have a question for you, Matt.
Yes.
First of all, I'm just really glad that you and Carrie are part of our committee, and thank you for taking on leadership. And I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit of what the advantage is to having that communication, hearing completely that it's not mandatory or people don't want to do it, you don't have to, but can you just talk about like your thinking that having multiple contact people tell us about that.
Sure.
What the benefit of that is versus one or, yeah. Is
Sure.
that clear?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from my thinking on it is guided a little bit by my experience when I was on the CPC. We did assign committee members to it and to individual projects. And the reason mainly was not to assist in making sure that technical format of the applications was correct, but in understanding twofold. One is to make sure that the application was eligible and that in the final application, its format didn't make it ineligible. We've ruled on eligibility on all these things last month, but by the time the actual application gets in, we found it helpful for applicants to have a contact who could say, hey, here's what I'm getting with the proposal. Does this look right? And as Jamie mentioned, if there's a temperature taking, that's, I think, an okay thing to do. I mean, we want the applications to be as complete and well-targeted as possible. And so it's really to give advice and counsel to the applicants before they do the application.
I didn't realize.
I love it. I think it's great. And I think that it might, you'll see that we have agencies and groups that have applied and been awarded multiple times. And then we have newcomers, and we have all kinds of ranges of experience with asking for grants or working with a community preservation committee. So I think it's great. And I think it's just exciting to try something new. So thank you for bringing that. And thank you for explaining that to me too, or to us.
Great, thanks. I think it's going to be an interesting challenge this year because we all bring different experiences to the committee. But the application pool this year is so overwhelmingly historic, which some of us have more knowledge of. And that's a good thing. I think it helps I mean, I know it spurs me to get better well versed in places like that. Okay. So I don't think, Jamie, that if we make a decision on this, if this requires any roll call vote or anything, I think it's kind of an informal process, is it not? I don't think you need to.
Yeah.
No, we'll have a vote on it, but I think it's just more of an informal one, and then we can decide.
What do you mean?
Does that sound right, Jamie? Okay.
Yep, I agree that it is more of an informal administrative decision
Okay.
and not something requiring a vote.
Got it. So I have the list of this year's applications in front of me. It's funny. I just thought of something. I'll diverge momentarily. It reminds me when we were going through my parents' house and dividing all the things between 5 siblings. How do we do that? And we thought we might have a draft, but then we just said, well, let's just put the list up, and if more than one person is interested, then which worked great. It's pretty straightforward. So, do you all have the list in front of you, or I can share my screen and put it in front of everybody?
No.
I have the list in front of me, or I have it pulled up.
What can we do for you? You've eaten.
I do
your-
too.
Okay. So, why don't we go the list that Jamie sent out? I'll just go from the top down. The first one is the Saunders House murals at the library. Anybody interested in being the contact for that one?
Oh, I like that. I like that space.
Great. Well, unless anybody else speaks up, Jennifer Lee, you get that one.
Thank you.
Great. Trustees of reservations. What is that one again?
That's the
Okay.
parking area
Yes.
at Ravenswood.
Yeah, that's the parking area at Ravenswood.
And I would like to do that. Also, yeah, that I'm interested in that.
Great. Ocean Alliance. This was the breakwater over by right?
I'll do Ocean Alliance if no one else wants it.
Right. Great. Schooner Adventure. That was to fund the restoration of their keel, I think, right?
Could I say something?
Happy, oh,
Absolutely.
I'm in a
Anybody
very
else interested
difficult-
before Hank gets
Hello?
there?
I'm in a very difficult situation here with my wife.
Yes.
She's on hospice, and
Sweetheart.
I will not be able to undertake a special assignment. And I apologize for that, but I must handle the situation here primarily, and I hope you please can understand that. Okay, I'll do what I can as a member of the committee, but I will not be able to handle special contact things. Thank you.
I think we all completely understand, Hank, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, and I appreciate it. So,
The Village Church, Manasquan Village Church. Any takers?
I'll take it. I mean, I'm okay taking 3, and I know Sue very well, and
Right.
I'm happy to do that.
Well, you can walk down to it if you want to.
Yes, I could. So to be clear, did I take Schooner Adventure? Were there any other takers on that one?
mm-mm.
Okay, so I'm good with those and happy to trade if
Great.
anyone wants to. I whatever works.
Got it. Hammond Museum is the next one. I'll take that one unless anybody else is really itching to take it. Yep. Jamie, Gloucester 400. Do we have an issue with this project?
So I think they are going to be have to be very specific in what pieces of the project they ask for and deliberate on. So I did forward that message from Stuart on to Mia because she reached out and asked about whether or not purchasing the equipment would be eligible. So I passed that along as like a nudge and a reminder to say really what would be eligible would be the physical restoration of documents.
Mm.
And-
So
and did everybody in the committee get this for? I'm looking for the email that I got. Are you aware of this one?
I did not forward it to the whole committee. I apologize for that.
Not a problem. So we'll cover it. Did you reach out to the CPC, or did they just? How did this one come about? Their review of the application.
I reached out to the CPC specifically to ask about the purchase of equipment because I was unsure, and got kind of the full review of the whole project.
Yep. So you guys remember that we deemed that to be eligible, and what they were requesting was funding for scanning and other technology equipment to preserve records, and the state CPC contact says that that's actually not a valid use of funds. So we might need to reconsider that one.
That
I
wouldn't
don't-
fall under preservation? Preserving the stories, which is the theme of the 400?
Right, and I think that's, I'm still looking for the email. I don't know if you've got it in front of you, Jane.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I can pull it up and forward it to everyone. But I think Stuart's point was that electronic scanning and archiving is not the same as restoring or preserving physical documents, which the CPA ordinance and legislation is really overly particular about it having to be like a physical asset.
It's an interesting, in other words, yeah, thank you. And I just found the email. I'll read it to you guys from it, and I'm happy to forward it along too. Came in last week. Stuart, who's the executive director of the CPC, said costs associated with digitizing documents is not an allowable CPA expense. You can do preservation work on the actual documents, but merely scanning them does nothing to preserve the actual documents and artifacts, which I would take issue with. I'm not sure legally, but that just doesn't seem to make sense to me. But he also attached a letter from the Department of Revenue on it. This activity would fall under support historic resources, but not preservation of resources.
Oh,
So, Jamie, I'll go ahead and forward this to everybody now. Do you have it?
just think about it.
I
mean,
have it. I'm about to send it.
Great,
Yep.
thanks.
a copy of the Declaration of Independence is not the same as an original copy that has been preserved.
Right, so I get it from the definition of the CPA standpoint. I'm happy to take this one and just stay in touch with Jamie on it, just because I think when we talked about this last month, I've got some background in digital preservation, and I'd be interested in pursuing it, but it may be that this falls out of the project queue, or if it doesn't, it gets redefined.
Do
Right.
do they ever work at that, in a project of this size, could they designate some cash to pay for the the recording of the documents, and then find some other way to use our money?
So I think that the preservation that they're hoping and attempting to do here are oral histories, oral stories. They're trying to capture stories of some of our most elderly population that live down the fort, that are fishermen, and they're trying to preserve those stories. And the idea was to do that electronically in this day and age. I mean, that's my understanding of it anyway, big part of it anyway. So I don't know if there's a way to, I mean, can we as a group make an argument to the state, that this might be viewed as a special circumstance, that it's not really, I mean, to your point, Jennifer, we're not really trying to preserve an historic document here. We're trying to preserve some stories that have really, they're documented up here in people's minds, and again, keeping in touch, in tune with the whole theme of what the Gloucester 400 is, trying to make sure that these stories are preserved.
I think it's well, philosophically, it seems like a great application of CPC Plus. So I think we need to explore it, whether whether the project needs some slight redefinition to be
There you go.
appropriate in the big guidelines. And so that's why I'd love to take this one if everybody's
Well-
okay with it. And hopefully by next month we'll have a good plan on it.
That is what it seems like. It needs to be redefined and rewritten.
Yep.
In a way to have it fit, because it certainly is preserving and not characteristic, but it would be preserving history, literally preserving history.
Right. Well, fingers crossed, and I will take that one and work with them and with Jamie on what happens. First Parish Burial Ground was the next one. That was the restoration of a small number of gravestones, yes? Anybody want to be the intermediary? By the way, this one seems so straightforward that I think that's fine if we don't. We'll leave that one open.
I can take that one. I'll take
Okay.
that one. That's
Great.
fine. Yep.
And since Pam's not here, I mean, in my family, if you're not here, you get everybody throws stuff at you. So I'm going to plug Pam's name in then Gloucester Meeting House unless anybody else is interested in working with or instead.
That's fine by me. I'm literally sitting on my hands, hoping not to take on too much, so. that's
All right,
fine.
well, you've already put your name on 3, so hopefully that
Yeah.
won't be too bad. All right, great. So that's that item. Round 12 application signings. Thank you all. Project updates is next on the agenda. And I think that was just to take a look at what's outstanding from previous year awardees. Jamie sent an updated list of what's still active. And I don't know how you guys want to approach this right now. I took a quick look at the list. I don't have personally any outstanding questions at the moment. I guess I'd start with Jamie. You, is there anything on this list that you wanted to ask us from an oversight standpoint? Or is everything look fine to you?
So there are a couple of items. I did make contact with the Sargent House, and they said that they were unable to find someone to come and complete that project, and they asked that we rescind that funding,
See, that's-
which was a 2018 $800 award. I have not been able to be in touch with anyone from the Mount Pleasant Cemetery Committee. I even reached out to the city's cemetery committee to see if they had contacts, and nobody can really point me in a direction of someone to reach out to. And they had a $2,000 award hanging out from 2016 that I kind of think at this point should be rescinded. I think on the last version of this, it was listed as a cemetery committee's project. But I went back into the old files and found that it was, in fact, that Mount Pleasant Cemetery Association is its own and independent organization. So I corrected that on this iteration, but I can't find anyone to even be in touch with to ask about the status of the project at this point. I've tried every email and it bounces back. I think, a year ago or so, I reached out to their Facebook group and didn't hear. So I think I've kind of used every resource I can to get a contact. I just can't. So I think that one would be well served to be rescinded at this point as well. And I did for the 2017 Meadows Field. I reached out to the DPW and they stated that they don't have any more expenses to be charged for that project.
So I think then that we probably need to take a vote on these because it's going to be a recommendation to budget and finance to we rescind the project and that those allocated monies will be covered. Does that sound about right?
Mhm.
So the last time we rescinded projects, it was the committee took a vote and then I just forwarded the rescind vote to the city auditor, and the city auditor was able to make those changes.
Great. All right, so I think we probably need to take each one of these one by one. So I'll start with the 2016 one first. I recommend that the CPC vote to rescind the remaining balance awarded to the Mount Pleasant Cemetery Committee for their 2016 project. And I so move. Does anybody second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Great. All right, so roll call vote. Heidi,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Hank,
Yes,
Jennifer, Lee,
Yes,
Carrie,
Yes,
and Matt also votes yes. So unanimous vote 6-0. We vote to rescind remaining funding on the 2016 Mount Pleasant Cemetery Committee project. All right, next up, I recommend that the CPC approve to rescind remaining funding on the 2017 Mansfield Backstop and Fencing project. And I so move. Does anyone second?
Second.
Righty, roll call vote. Heidi,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Hank,
yes,
Jennifer Lee,
yes,
Gary,
yes,
Matt, yes. Unanimous vote to send the remaining. Finally, I recommend that the CPC approve to rescind remaining project funding for the 2018 Middle Street facade preservation for the Sergeant House Museum. And I so move. Does anyone second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote. Heidi,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Hank,
Yes,
Jennifer Lee,
yes.
Gary,
yes,
and Matt, yes. Unanimous approval to rescind remaining funding on the Middle Street facade Sergeant House project. Jamie, I think that handles those, yes?
Yes, thank you.
And everything else looked pretty straightforward to me. If on further review, anybody has any questions, just ask them directly, Jamie. And I'd love to know too, but I think they all look fine, and there's not a whole lot other else to do at this point. Okay. Administrator update. That's you, Jamie, is it not?
That is me.
What do you got?
I don't really have anything major. I don't know if everyone saw the email that came out from Stuart and the Community Preservation Coalition regarding legislation that they're encouraging to change the way affordable housing is recorded, or like the fees associated to affordable housing. I thought that was kind of an interesting piece of legislation I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. The coalition is in support of it, and it would certainly make a difference for the cost of recording for affordable housing units. If anyone is not receiving the coalition emails, let me know or register, and I can reach out to Stuart and get you added to anything you need.
Jamie, what was the subject of that email? I'm looking at one, but I don't think it's the one you're talking about.
I don't know the subject. Let me.
I have one from Stuart from 5 days ago that said DOR releases projection for November CPA distribution, which is good.
Yes, that's also exciting.
Just so you guys all know that if you haven't seen that one, that the Department of Revenue is projecting a 32.3% base match for the CPA trust fund distribution in November, which is, I think, as good as the fund has had recently, except for 1 year. So nice to see. Anything else, Jamie?
No, I haven't had, sorry, I got wicked feedback on that one. I haven't had any major questions about applications. Nobody has officially submitted yet, so I'm anticipating doing a follow-up email and just reminding folks, to submit in Neighborly. And if there's enough interest, I'd be happy to do like a training webinar with applicants just to go through the mechanics of Neighborly since it is new. But I haven't received a lot of questions. There's definitely certain applicant, I can tell the activity. So certain applicants are going in and starting to fill things out. But nobody has officially submitted and nobody has indicated they've had any issues with it either.
So I had a question for you on that. When you're contacting these people, are you just going through the email that you've got for eligibility determination?
Yep,
That's the contact you've got, right?
yes, some of them you can tell that there are typos, or if there's like a mistake in there's no @ symbol or things like that, I'll clean that up. But I typically go in and pull their primary and secondary contacts and email both of them. Just gives the kind of the best chance for something to be seen. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, so to that end, and coming back to our second line item for tonight, any of us who have volunteered to be the CPC committee contact for these projects, I would encourage you to reach out to each of these folks using that eligibility email in the spreadsheet that Jamie sent out tonight. And when I do, I'm going to copy Jamie because they already know Jamie, and just make sure that she's at the conversations. But I think the more we encourage these people to move along, the better. Because what's the deadline date? Jamie, is it May 9th?
Sorry, I always have to look at my calendar.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking
May
at
7th.
Wow. I mean, that's less than 3 weeks away. And it's well before our next meeting. So yeah, I'll get a hold of my two folks this week. Can I ask a question about that? Once applications are in on May 7th, that's pretty much everything that we work from to review, or there's an ongoing process?
It's ongoing. Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay. So applicants can continue to submit more information if we have questions. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
In fact, well, my limited experience, but there's some there, is that there's a lot of tweaking that goes up until the last minute.
Good. Well, I think that's all I had. And our last agenda item is to confirm that the next meeting is May 18th. I think that does it. Could be a world record time for our meeting.
Can I make a quick announcement on behalf of Open Space Recreation? I just actually was double checking my list of people to contact, and I just wanted to share that on Monday, April 26th, so our plan, the Open Space and Recreation plan, is being worked on with MAPC, Metropolitan Area Planning Council. So we are working with them to update our plan and also gather information, which is in the form of a virtual open house on Monday, April 26th. And then there's a live survey, the first of two, about open space and recreation in Gloucester, what people's priorities are. We're gathering input, and I wanted to share that with you so that it's from 5 to 5:45, a presentation online. And then there's April 26th through May 10th is a virtual open house, which just means that there's information and a link to the survey. So I'll encourage all of you to fill it in. And I'm going to share a PDF of the evening with more information that you can share with your contacts. So we're excited, we're overdue, but we have some new members, and I'm happy to share with you and give input to them on your behalf, but also vice versa. We're just meeting every month right now.
Heidi, did you say that's Monday at 5:45?
Monday, 5 p.m. until 5:45. So yeah, so it's a 45-minute presentation and questions and answers, but then it's a survey that's just live for a few weeks. So yeah, April 26th to May 10th.
Great.
Yeah, so thank you.
Put it on my calendar. Okay, anybody else with any business to attend to? Great. Well, I hope I didn't screw up too much, but I think we can make a motion to adjourn the meeting. So I recommend that we.
So move, or I move to adjourn to the meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We need a roll call vote for this one. I can't remember, Jamie.
No.
Great. Then the meeting is adjourned. Great to see everybody. And it looks like my dog just ran out of the room without barking. So I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you in a month,
Thank you.
everybody.
Okay,
Hey,
take
very
care.
good.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah,
Linda,
bye-bye.
Carrie.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Hank. Bye, Bob. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Jennifer Lee.
Bye, oh, bye, Hank. Good luck.
Thank you.